What?
Didn't you change the name?
What were the other names?
Sleep Talking and Dead Asleep.
I like Sleep Talking. What was the other one?
Dead Asleep.
Dead Asleep sounds too sad for me.
Too Busy
My fish
Sleeping
was-
is not punny, but it is more clever. But then Sleep Talking to me is just more on a shirt. Like I
feel like if Too
more of a
Busy
brand to
Sleeping
me.
is
Yeah.
your channel and is your brand, then Sleep Talking is a great title for your podcast.
I feel like that's gonna get confusing. All right, I hate to say it, but I think it is because it's like we also have an IPA called Dead Asleep. We're starting.
Yeah, it's gonna be too much in the thumbnail and the title. It's gonna be Too Busy Sleeping, Sleep Talking Pod.
I think Sleep.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
Buy
Title.
my melatonin gummies called Snoozy Woozies.
That was good. I like that.
Welcome to the channel. You're listening to Too Busy Sleeping. I'm your host, Chris. And today we're going to be talking about a specific relationship that happens within your mind and your body's senses. And what I mean by that is this relationship is being able to use your sight, your smell, your taste, or your hearing within your mind in a very specific way. But some people have gone their entire lives with an inability to be able to use these senses within their mind, and they haven't even known that other people can do these things. For example, my two friends here, Sam and Dylan, have just recently found out that they have aphantasia. If you don't know if you have aphantasia, I'm warning you now that this information, if you do have it, is gonna shock you. It's gonna change your worldview like it did for these two people. So be careful. You know, if you want to just live ignorantly blissful to the fact of this information, go away.
Trigger warning.
Don't ever look up aphantasia. Don't ever talk to anybody about how the mind works, because it will. You're gonna feel gypped if you have it.
I should have been warned about this before I signed up for the...
Don't speak for us.
So he's definitely
speak
got
for you.
it. If we're just
Well, if you're curious to
definitely
find out,
I have it. You have it.
you know, it's too late. I've already piqued your interest.
You've planted the seed.
Yeah.
You've
Is this that
inceptioned.
daydreaming thing?
We are going to do a test on Marty to see if he has it, because he doesn't know what aphantasia is. And if you don't, follow along with the test and keep your score. We'll see if you have it, and then we're going to reveal to you what aphantasia is and talk about what it's like living with it.
Can I just say that you introed the listeners and you were like, you might want to just walk away because this, if you find out that you have it, this might shock you and ruin your life. So we're going to test Marty right now live.
So much anxiety now. Like
Marty is the test subject. All right.
Okay, God.
Think of some relative or friend whom you frequently see, but who is not with you at present, and consider carefully the picture that comes before your mind's eye. So, on a scale of 1 to 5, what are you seeing? Are you seeing dim and vague, flat, moderately clear and lively, perfectly clear and lively, as real seeing?
Okay, I'm confused about real seeing is in I literally see her right next to you.
Yeah.
Like-
Because that's never going to be
No,
a thing.
no,
I have
but-
not taken any substances tonight.
That you can't say.
No. It's
I'm-
the image that you see in your head. Is it as clear as the way that you're seeing me?
Yeah, I can imagine
It's-
her. Yeah.
I'm
okay.
basing 5 off of you see it as clear as you would with your eyes open.
Okay, so if she were in this room, see where that bullet is from my perspective? That's exactly how tall she'd be standing. Okay? I could see the color of her hair. I remember what she was wearing the last time I saw her,
Okay.
5 months ago.
So I'm going to give you a 5 then. Because 4 is
I don't
clear.
literally see her.
4 is clear and
Okay,
lively
see, there's
then.
the thing. He said he doesn't literally see it.
Oh, wait, what? Okay.
He has
Yeah.
nothing to
We gotta
compare
we gotta give
what
you a
he's trying to
preface. Okay.
determine to.
You give the preface.
Show-
you
show
give
the
us the
star,
definition
too.
of aphantasia.
Well, I don't know the definition, but
Well, explain it.
okay.
Give us your story.
So there's this thing that's been going around the internet that is we're just finding out that some people don't have an internal monologue. Some people hear a voice in their head speaking their thoughts and other people don't, and they just think in sort of abstract concepts. So I saw this on Reddit. I sent it to my friends, this like Twitter screenshot that I saw, and I was like, what type are you guys? Do you have an internal monologue? And my friend Casey said, I think entirely in images. And I wasn't really able to like comprehend what she meant, so I was just like, oh, okay. And I like went back over to Reddit and I started reading the comments underneath the post, and one of the top ones was like, oh, similar to this, some people have a condition called aphantasia where they don't have the ability to visualize something in their mind the way that most people can, and they often go their whole lives without knowing that they have this because they don't realize that when other people visualize things in their mind, they are actually able to see something.
I don't have that.
See, I do. And when people say things like, oh, picture this in your mind, like I just thought all of that was always like just a figure of speech.
I still kind of do. So if someone's like sits you down and someone's like, yo, picture your life 5 years from now, you guys have like a image in your head, not like a series of concepts
Of myself.
It's like a film.
Okay, so you probably
wild.
don't have it.
No, he doesn't.
But
Is
now
there-
do you
No, I
understand?
mean, I have that internal monologue. I definitely do.
But can you picture things in your mind?
Absolutely. Vividly.
And like literally see them? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what is being tested, because there's also like levels to it. Like some people, like probably you, when you try to visualize something, you might see like more of a faint outline or it's blurry.
To me, perfectly vivid is just being able to see it come like real life, and I can't do that. But let's continue on.
Well,
Perfectly
before
clear.
we continue this, I would probably tell you guys that I have more of an internal monologue than a regular person. I speak to myself internally to multiple people. Like, for instance, I'll be...
When you say multiple people, like multiple people in your head?
There are groups of... in my brain, there is a group of people that consist to make one person.
When you say that there's like different people or groups of people that you like talk to in your head, like is there a visual image that goes along with that, or it's just like auditory?
It depends. Like during points of high stress, I lost my job at one point. I had no job for 10 weeks. It was very bad. I was living in a car. Like, I used to be a very negative and cynical person, and I remember thinking the whole time, we have to get through this. We being myself. And that's helped me a lot, because in my past, I've told myself a lot, like, I wish I weren't here. I wish I could just drop dead. This is so difficult. But branching away from that cynicism, and when I started changing into a more positive person...
Or people,
I guess I just started saying, like, I want all versions of myself to ultimately have a more rounded perspective.
For me, like, first of all, I don't have an internal monologue whatsoever. Like,
I don't get
when
that.
I
can't believe that.
When I think, and if I'm reading something, like there's nothing being heard in my mind. Like if I'm reading a page in a book, that my words are just, or my eyes are just seeing the words and my brain is like absorbing them, but there's never any...
That's how she
I like
reads
the
so
idea
fast.
that his head is just filled with all the people you didn't get, like in yours. Like,
But
the
wait.
person that should be in there talking, like, is just over hanging out at his place.
No, but what I was going to say is that, like, for me, even though I don't actually have these conversations, for me, there is also a sense of, like, in times of high stress, I almost think of myself and my brain as two separate entities. So I get what you're saying about, like, oh, like, we have to get through this.
So to take it from, like, the normal understanding of empathy to, like, the next level of empathy, right? If you were imagining yourself as Chris, let's say you texted Chris and you're like, yo, bro, can't make it. Sorry to fuck your shit up. Peace out.
What an asshole.
And then you in your head were like, let me imagine being him. Do you think that there's a
Freaky Friday?
do you think there's an example of that where you could get a panic attack or you could feel anxious? Like, do you think you could actually
feel what I would be
do you
feeling?
think you could actually manifest like the intensity of what would have happened if this was a bigger
No,
if this was,
because-
like his fucking opening night at like podcast theater. And he had just, he sold out the Garden.
World Podcast
and you were supposed to
Live.
come through, right? And you were going to talk on his podcast. It was he sold all these tickets.
Damn.
All these pod tickets, bro, for all the potters out there. And then you fucking cancel.
He would.
Can you feel that? Can you feel that right now?
It makes me sad. One of the big things it makes me sad about is that I'm not a reliable person to Chris anymore. Why he loses that ability. And I mean, this isn't World Podcast Live, but if I start talking about like, hey, I don't think I'm going to make it to the live stream, I think about how Chris was looking forward to it all day. Chris probably went to work today with Ralph, right? You went with Ralph.
Yeah.
And he probably thought about what he was going to say. He probably took his breaks on lunch and scrolled through his phone and read a few things. While he was driving the dump, he was probably looking around, maybe admiring the day, as he does. And he was probably thinking about the way this is going to go. He painted a picture in his head of the way this is going to go.
Because he can.
And
Bringing it back to the mental pictures.
And then I throw a monkey wrench into it, and it's a different painting from the one he made. So that creates a sense of disappointment in him, and then I start mutually feeling that. I understand why he's feeling that.
But if I don't even express that feeling to you, like, do you still get that concept of like you have like done that to me?
Yeah. Do you think that you could?
Because like, what I'm like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Cool.
You could like harm yourself by being like, oh, I've let him down. He's disappointed in me. Whereas like in reality, Chris is like, oh no, I got somebody else I can call.
You gotta gauge people's reactions to things. Like, but for me, it depends on how emotional I am. But I'm gonna try my best not to make the assumption that Chris is gonna be like, oh no, like devastated, like about the podcast. But I understand the stress that comes with that and the frustration, and I don't want that to be on me.
All right, I think we should get back to this topic. We should move on. The timer went off. So we know what the prompt is. Think of a relative or friend whom you frequently see, and consider carefully the picture that comes before your mind's eye. Mine is clear and lively. 4.
I'm gonna give mine a. I mean, I'm sorry. Is it still like I literally see them?
That's a 5, yeah.
Yeah, that's
like
a 5.
okay. Let me just like say,
You
like,
can't literally see them. You have to be tripping on drugs.
This will help.
when I read that comment about what aphantasia was, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, people can see things? I went back to my friend who had said that she thinks in images, and I was like, okay, this might sound like a weird or like stupid question to you, but like when you say that you think in images, like what do you mean? Like, do you actually see something when you close your eyes? And she was like, yeah, literally I do. And I can see things when I don't have my eyes closed. And it's almost like overlaying what I'm looking at. Now, I've also read she may have the opposite of aphantasia, which is it's like hyperphantasia or something, where they visualize like to the extreme. Basically, like people who don't have it can either with their eyes closed or not, like literally see something.
I think it's important to like keep in mind, like I can imagine, like if someone's like, describe your best friend, I can describe them. I know all their attributes. I fucking know their features. I can tell you his shoe size. Like that's not a problem. It's just, I could draw it. If you give me a piece of paper, I can make the paper look like him. But I'm not going to be able to sit there and tell you like, I fucking dragged an image over from Illustrator and plopped it in my head and there it is.
Like going back to the question, you say like picture this person, think about the image in your mind's eye. There's nothing. I gotta say 1 because there's nothing. But if I think of like my friend Amanda, like exactly what comes up for me is almost like a list of her attributes. Like, oh, I could tell you she has blonde hair. Like she's the same height as me. She's very thin. Like
also if I'm like trying to like imagine them, I'll like try and like focus in on like one thing. I'll be like, oh, like let me imagine, like let me, because I'm not getting anything. So I'm like, let me start with their face. I'm like, let me start with their face.
What kind of nose do they have?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, let me not go for the whole JPEG. I'll just do the face for now. I start with the face, right? And then I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm not getting nothing. All right, just zoom in more. Just get like, try teeth. You know, try like one teeth. And then like, but like it's never gonna happen. It's literally just like I can.
No,
tell
but
you.
it is like it.
I'm like desperately trying to.
Exactly, like I can't see anything, and then if I do try to think like, okay, like I know that Amanda's eyes are, I think, green. see what I mean? Like, I'm like, I can't pull up a picture and be like, oh, her eyes are green. Or
That's
if you
a good
asked me,
point.
like,
Hold up.
what does her
I love
nose
that
look
point.
like or something? Like,
If it's so vivid, if it's 5 for you, and I'm saying it's real life, 5 is real life, okay? With your sister, your relative, or whoever you picked, can you describe every attribute you can by staring at your
So,
plotted image?
would
that you have
5
of her?
Yeah, I could do that.
Do you think that 5 is like having a photographic memory?
So I'm glad.
Or not a memory, but
Well, I looked it
a
up.
photographic mind?
Apparently photographic memory is not like real, and basically what the stigma of photographic memory is, it's like, it's not that you can at all times pull the textbook page that you wanted to remember up and be like, oh yeah, I remember everything on that page because I have a photographic memory.
No problem, bro.
It's not like that. It's basically you open up a page and you scan it and you read it, and then for 2 to 3 minutes you can remember what's on that page.
That was really
Well, that's
helpful
called,
for those when they gave you a test like in school,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, all right, quick review time.
Or
Those
if you
kids
yeah.
were acing that
I
shit.
could
Or if you
that.
quickly looked at the answer key, like
Yeah.
of the class beforehand,
Yeah.
and you're like, all right, give me
Yeah.
the answers. Okay.
But I think
But that's
what's
a thing.
always done that. I've
That's a
always-
thing that I learned about in like psychology or something. I think it's called working memory. It's basically like you have to continually like repeat this, because if you don't, you won't remember. It's like temporary storage.
Okay.
It's up
in-
to 7 things, right? And they're usually up to like 7. I think that's the reason they made phone numbers that size, because that was the
Yeah.
average capacity of the mental fucking like replay machine. There's a little recorder in your head, and all of your people's heads in there. But
And to address your comment, like, you would have to see it vividly and clear, you'd have to be on drugs. Like, that's what this, for people who have aphantasia, their brain doesn't have like the ability to do the crossfires in their brain, but drugs,
I'm
certain
glad you brought
drugs,
up drugs.
hallucinants, will start that like firing in your brain
Yeah.
to
Now-
let you see images.
I have a question about drugs, because like I was talking to another one of my friends about this aphantasia thing when I realized that I had it, and she was like, well, what do you see when you trip? And I was like, well, I've never done like a hallucinogenic drug. Do I want to talk about drug use on the podcast?
I don't know.
I'm all for it over here. Joe Rogan does it all the time.
Yeah.
He seems to be doing pretty well, so
Everyone get your spacesuit on.
yeah. Right.
Look, it's already so long into the podcast.
Okay.
Anyone looks into your shit when you're trying to apply for jobs, they got to watch this whole video.
Mom, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but like the closest I have ever come is like a concert that I went to a few years ago. I took Molly, and after the concert, I like, you know, you don't like trip from Molly, but I visualized like patterns on my ceiling, like with my eyes open. But from what I know of most hallucinogenic drugs, like mushrooms or like LSD or whatever, you're not so much like seeing completely imaginary
Yeah.
beings
Oh, yeah.
or objects or anything. It's more of like
Your brain begins to notice patterns and
yes,
things
like
that aren't necessarily
you'll
there.
see like the wall like pulsating or whatever, but you're not seeing like a blue
Yeah,
bunny
you
rabbit.
might
like,
look at the grass, and although they're not uniform, you would see something uniform, and
yes.
maybe you'll see that color, but you'll see a second image of that color shadowed, or it's tough to describe, but I understand.
Yeah, so
how it
that's why
works.
I feel like I don't know what I think about the idea of like drugs making a difference for aphantasia, because so
And
not
also,
that I would like
I think I
Okay.
did read it that it happens in dreams where it's involuntary, it's not voluntary. And that's why some people with aphantasia still actually have vivid dreams. Because I did read
yeah,
that too.
the dreaming thing is like a whole other thing that I hope we can talk about
Yeah.
on this podcast, because I am still like in a state of like I don't know if
you
I see
visualize-
things when I dream or not.
But when you say, you picture that friend or person, and while you were talking, I tried to, and I made an effort to.
I wasn't listening to you. I was just imagining shit the whole time.
I wasn't listening to you at all. While you were talking, I made an effort to literally see you as that friend. and I could.
Wow.
You could?
I could see you. I could see exactly.
Now, is it...
I could see her hands. I could see how small they were. I could see that she was shorter.
All right, before we start asking questions, let's get through this fucking test, and we have 4 minutes to get through it.
Okay,
That's the
so you
timer.
said you're a 4?
minutes.
Okay.
I'm a 4.
I'm a 1.
What am I imagining? Am my best friends?
Yeah.
Oh, it's hard to pick. I love them all, but I can't see any of them. So.
Okay.
So he's a
5.
1.
All right, and you're a 5.
Yeah.
The length of their step, can you visualize that?
Well, when you say the length of their step, do you mean could I take a tape measure?
Not a tape measure, because
Well-
that'd be insane, like
No,
visualization.
but I know
But
how she
you-
walks.
you know
I know
how
her
she
patterns
walks.
of walking.
Okay.
You're seeing her feet move.
She has EDS, Ehlers-Danlos, so she walks a certain way. So that may not be the best.
The different
Question.
colors worn in some familiar clothes, you can see like different clothes
I
she
can
would wear.
picture what she was like wearing the last time I hung out with her. Yeah.
All right, so you guys have aphantasia,
I'm not-
and
I
like he
would say,
said,
but,
he's
like,
got
you
multiple. He's got an internal dialogue, personalities in his head that would answer differently to different things and interpret people's perspective. Can you hear other people's voices in your head?
I hear me talking.
Can you, if you wanted to,
I think
hear
that's 'cause the
Miles?
headphones, though.
Can you hear Miles's voice in your head if you wanted to?
It's still like I'm. Like, I don't want to do this again. You already fucked up vision for me, bro.
Okay.
I'm not trying to do this.
I feel like I have a really weird answer to this question.
Okay.
So I don't naturally have an internal monologue, but I can if I want to.
Yeah.
I can say things in my mind if I want to, or
But it's not natural to you.
it's not how I naturally think, but if I do it in my mind, it doesn't feel like unnatural.
Because
It's
it takes a lot of effort for me to like try even conceptualize what you do in your head by not having an internal dialogue. Like I try
But-
to like read
okay,
words and
but
be
wait.
like, okay, yeah, that makes sense without even saying anything in my head.
Like if I'm reading a book and I want to say all the words in my mind as I'm reading them, I can, but I naturally don't. But if I consciously try to like close my eyes and think of Miles's voice or like Amanda's voice, I can hear something in my mind, but it's almost like what I hear is like me trying to do an impression of that person.
Yes.
Like I'm trying to hear what their voice sounds like, but it's like just a little bit off.
More tonality than anything. More
Yeah.
their diction and their
Exactly, like their pattern of speech. Like I can think about like my friend Amanda's voice and how her voice is a little higher in pitch than mine, or you know, different from mine in this way or that way,
God.
or whatever.
That
But
once again is kind of back to like notes. Like I have lots of notes on life.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not recording things visually. I'm not fucking. You know, it's no cinematography studio in there. It's like picking shit up. But like, I have notes on things. Like, oh, they talk deeper. They have a stutter with this sound. This is. Don't ask them to say S's a lot. Like I know those things. Can I
There's
ask-
a range for this too, I would think. Like I would think that there's a black to it where you have no imagination. There's
star.
a white to it, and there are gray areas for everyone.
Star.
When you found out
These are the levels to it. A simple example of like what
like
people would say.
What number are you?
that's supposed to be a very simple test, and they
What number
say
are you
like
now?
close your eyes and visualize a red star.
Close your eyes, visualize a red star. How red is it?
It's
And
the
then-
exact star that's right there.
So it's 6, right?
Do you want to give you another star? Like
See, I can't do 6. I'm like a 5 and a 4.
I'm a hard 1. There's nothing.
no, I
No.
could see it.
Actually, do you want to give your kind of story as to how you discovered it? Because it was kind of really like sprung about
it
to
was
you.
just, It was just funny because I was like, Chris was over at our house and I just gotten out the shower and I walk upstairs, just having a good time, soapy clean. Couldn't, not a
Innocent.
care in the fucking world, baby.
Bubbly and all.
Lovely. And so I come upstairs and Chris is like, hey, like, you won't believe this. Just did this thing with Sam. Turns out Sam can't picture things. And I'm like, oh, what a stupid girl.
Yeah, he was like scrub.
She can't picture shit, can she? Yeah, she sounds like an idiot. And then he was like, yeah, you want to do the test real quick? And I was like, yeah, I'll do the fucking test, dude. Like, I was really cool about it. And I'd failed the test.
Oh, wow.
Didn't see a goddamn thing.
You idiot.
No,
Yeah,
Dylan
no.
was very much in denial. He was like,
what
what?
do you-
So Sam, if I say picture a canary, you can't fucking picture a canary? And I was like, no. And then like
And I
Chris was like,
matter
oh,
of fact,
try
I
to
can't
picture.
either.
Yeah, try to picture the red star. And Dylan was like, well, wait, I don't really see a red star.
Oh no! I had a huge drop from there.
And I was still on the phone, like, you have what I have.
Yeah, she was on the phone. It was actually really exciting for me. But then like I think what really tipped me over was we had Miles come out.
Yeah.
And
Put your mic up.
we had my roommate come out, and he Chris was kind of in the middle. He was shooting like 3s out of the scale of 6. But my roommate came out, and we were like, picture a red star, and he was like, there it fucking is, right there. He was so confident. He was like, how many? He's like, and it was like
immediately.
he was taking like a list from us. Like he was like, how many points do you need? What shade red? I can do canary red. I can do like a barn red. And he was just being like a real dick about it. Like you were being kind of a dick about it too. You guys just fucking see shit all day.
There the fuck it is.
Well,
like,
okay,
red
the
star,
funny
blue
thing-
star, green, purple, orange.
Yeah.
What do you want it? How pink do you want it?
Once I heard how confidently he was talking about it and how he was like almost like I could just pick it up if I want to. I was like, all right, so disconnect. Huge disconnect.
Yeah. Did it bother you throughout the whole night?
I was just enjoying the conversation at that point.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't care too deeply because I think everyone probably thinks insanely differently, and we probably don't know a lot of things. I feel like this is only like the scratching the surface of. I think this is just what's testable for how different brains are. Like I feel like we're probably absorbing so many things differently just from like even with every sense, like just.
Well, I think it only
sensation.
started gaining traction, like this whole study and everything, like in the early 2000s, but it was like brought to the attention of the like public, and like someone discovered it 1900s or 1800s.
Yeah, I saw that article you pulled up, and it was saying that not a lot of research has been done on it.
Yeah.
I believe
So basically, and it's like very subjective. Like you have to
But like, wouldn't that be
diagnose
more
yourself.
premise
Yeah.
to say that it's not a disorder because it hasn't caused any disorder? It hasn't been disorderly enough to prompt anyone
yeah, it
to ever
wouldn't- it
really
wouldn't make
sit
like
there
a-
and think about it until
Well,
now.
because that's the thing. Like, people sort of have different opinions. Like, one person said, like, do you see this as, like, a disability? And the majority of the people who do have it, they were like, well, no. Because it's not...
It doesn't disable
stop
me.
me from... Yeah, exactly.
I'm a functioning human being.
Yeah, it doesn't
who's
stop me
generally
from functioning in
happy.
any way.
See, that's the thing. Like when I was asking, like, did it shake you up? It shook me up for like 15 minutes.
No, it shook me up for, like... I'm still shook up.
Yeah, I totally got over it because you know what? It's like
I don't care. Who
Yeah.
gives a fuck? I mean, you're a functioning human being. You have your own apartment. You get your shit done.
a
You go to
low
work.
bar.
I don't know you, but you look like you can stand
I'm
up
less
straight.
functioning than
So-
her, but yeah.
Like, who cares? You could be smoking crack. As far as I care, if you can function and you can get your things done and you're a hardworking individual, I respect you.
Well, no,
I think that
I
you're
think-
doing a good job with life.
I think it probably, as much as it sounds like you don't have something, like, or you don't have the ability to do this, and it sounds like a disability, I think, if anything, this spectrum of thought and of the way that brains work, there's probably something that you're yielding that's more thought-based that other people who are customary to think in visuals aren't getting. So maybe you're more of a wordsmith.
Yeah,
than,
that's an interesting point
Yeah,
because...
it is.
Like...
because they have to translate things in their head. He sees a red star. He then has to translate that into words. If you're just straight up with getting the words from the beginning...
Yeah.
I think it is...
Yeah, you're the idiots.
I think that I do have like a high level of like description, like the ability to describe, but like when I told my one friend about it, immediately she was asking me all these questions like, well, like, do you dream? Like what about when you trip? Like she was asking me all this stuff, and then she was like, but you draw and you paint. So she was like, how do you do that if you can't like visualize what you want the picture to look like? And I had this moment of like, is that what people do? Like,
wow.
you know, and
Fucked up, dude. I can't believe that like you don't do that like when you're
see, but
drawing.
that's my thing. Like to me, it's like when I think about like, and I love to draw. Like I can't even just sit in class without just doodling constantly. So the concept of like being able to stare at a blank page and or close my eyes and visualize exactly what I want to draw and then draw that, like that is like the most foreign thing to me like ever.
So you and I took a state standardized, we were talking about this before, but took a state standardized test. We
Good
took
point.
the exact same test. How old are you?
27.
You're 27? Okay.
Yeah, I
so
forgot for a second.
maybe not exactly the same test, but yes, the same test essentially. There's a 4-year age
What test are you
difference.
talking? Like what? How old were you when you took?
In high school.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay.
Forget what
PSSA?
it's yeah, that's it.
Okay.
You had to take them in high school.
That's what I'm talking about.
When I finished that test, they told me that I was in the top 3% of readers. Meaning, when I read something and I have to translate information immediately thereafter based on that reading, my
So
competency.
jealous.
Watch out, ladies. We got a reader in the house.
My competency in doing so was greater than 97% of individuals who took that same test. Yeah. You being one of those individuals. However, you are in the top 2%. So we were just talking about that a minute ago, right? How can anyone say that aphantasia is a disability when you process that information just as efficiently as I do?
To play devil's
that's what
advocate.
I'm saying. Like, I go ahead.
Or just to play devil's advocate. There's plenty of people with like dyslexia that are fantastic jugglers. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like you can have a disorder and be really good at something. So I don't think that necessarily proves not a disorder. I do think that we're getting at something that it's more a disorder because of what we value socially. So if we really, really valued being able to visualize shit, it would be a disorder. But we don't enough that it hinders anything that she does in her day to day.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's not like we start.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you fucking start your day and like every time you want to get in a building, someone's like,
whoa,
oh, visualize some shit real quick.
That's true. Never thought of disabilities like that.
That's how any disability is.
Yeah.
Like for example, like
it's what we value as a society and how it prevents you from functioning in that society.
100%.
I've never thought. Wow.
Yeah.
I never thought of it like that.
Like,
yeah.
you can see bipolar because you talked about that in the beginning. It's starting to kind of make like a like Kanye tried to come out and be like, oh, like I'm manic, but it makes me creative. If you're gonna emphasize energy and creativity and spontaneity, then you can overlook all the fucking shitty parts of bipolar, and then you can be like, oh, it's not a disorder, it's just a fucking really energetic dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing about why I don't think it's a disability because, like, exactly, like I think the way that our society functions, and particularly as we are being educated, the way that we measure, I guess, intelligence or proficiency, so we test for reading comprehension, math skills, there's nothing that's ever used to measure our intelligence or proficiency that aphantasia has any effect on. So that's why I don't see it as a disability, but I do see it as
an advantage in some way.
A disadvantage.
A disadvantage.
It's
only in so much as exactly, like only in that it feels like it would be like cool or fun to be able to experience it, and
feels like it'd be less stressful to experience what you guys do, because like in the last year of my no, seriously,
no, I know, but that was really funny.
Last 2 years of my life, I have worked 2 jobs. I've done school.
I got something after
I
you.
have really busted my balls as hard as I can to save as much money as I can
and we're just
to move across
here
to the West Coast. It is the biggest and most important thing I've ever had to do in my life, in my opinion. I obsess.
It's not like we don't have
over it.
goals. We have goals.
No. It's just that I obsess.
And like the literal image that you have in your mind.
Yeah.
If I don't do that, I feel like my life was for absolutely nothing.
So the people in Oregon they've made it. Like they're good. Like if you're born in Oregon, you're set.
No.
You're gonna get there and you're gonna want to move somewhere else. You're gonna get there and be like,
that's true.
Back to the Northeast.
You're right. My point being that if I wouldn't be so emotionally invested in it if I didn't have a specific image in mind and a specific decision on how it's going to look. So if I did have aphantasia, I don't think that I would be as stressed out about it.
I don't know, because they can just have the same will and determination that you would have, you know, without
but in a
being
different
able
way.
to visualize.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like.
But
so
the
I don't
visual,
think it would go away for you.
The visual
if you had
I'm telling you that when I go to work every day, when I clock in, I am there all day. I am spacing out. I am looking outside the window. Whatever I'm doing.
Daydreaming
all day.
Bad.
I'm there. And
I daydream though.
Yeah, I can do both. I'm
what
a
kind of
multitasker.
daydreaming do you do? I don't understand.
It's all thought based.
Oh, all right. So like,
it's all
give me an
calculations,
example. Like,
not images.
What kind of like
okay,
fantasy?
To your point about the visualization about this, like the closest thing that I can relate to that, because something that I could sort of make the comparison is
I'm the greatest.
No one can.
Like, so when I was in community college, we were doing this play and I auditioned for the play, and this was like the play that I wanted this one specific role, and I wanted it so bad that I felt like waiting for the cast list to come out was like, if I don't get this role, like I might as well die. Like I want this more than anything. But there was no picturing
really
myself.
Tangible, like it's like Oregon, gotta be in this school play or I'm done. Like, yo, the bars,
No.
you're putting way too much pressure on very low.
No,
like,
no, hang on.
They're good bars, but they're not. That's not the top one. Right?
I'm
I
not
mean, I
saying-
know that I wasn't actually gonna die if it didn't happen, but I'm just saying that, like, at the time, it was something that was really, really important.
You put a
to
lot
me.
of weight. Put a lot of weight onto it. You put a lot of weight on it.
What a lot of pain.
You put a lot of weight on it, and I do that too.
Let me start with Sam.
Trees.
Did people ever say to you, when you maybe like were expressing that you were nervous about performing or anything like that, would they just, say like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just picture the audience naked"?
Okay, so it's funny that you ask because
Picturing all you guys naked.
I thought about that. Nobody ever said that to me in relation to acting, but that's a thing, obviously, that people say, like, when you're going to give, like, a school presentation or something. Thinking about it, like, that is one of those things that I never really understood. Like, as a kid, they'd be like, "Oh, picture them all in their underwear," and I'd be like,
Oh yeah.
well, that doesn't really help. And, like, maybe it's because I wasn't able to have that mental image. Like, I was just thinking about, like,
Squilliam.
for me, it's more like a thought. Like, I would
thought?
be on stage and it would, like, I would just have to think, like, they're all wearing their underwear, but that, like, does nothing.
When I went to, it's a really quick story and you can totally edit it out, but I went to, when I went to, like, the freshman orientation for college, right?
Yeah.
We go in and they're supposed to have like a fun warm-up exercise that they do, and they have like an entertainment group come, and they rotate the entertainment group. Sometimes it's like this like small little like juggling people, and sometimes it's a magician. And one time our group got the hypnosis guy, and so I'm in this auditorium full of a few hundred people, and there's this guy on stage, and he calls up about 20 people and he starts hypnotizing them, right? And he starts narrowing it down. So if he doesn't really think you're hypnotized, he'll tap you on the shoulder and he'll send you back to the audience, and he'll keep having you do breathing exercises and so on and so forth until he gets down to like 5 or 6 people that are genuinely hypnotized. And so he's doing all this fun exercise with them. He gives them like an orange and he says like, "This orange is your kid," and then he like rolls the orange across stage and the kid starts to cry, right? So they're genuinely hypnotized. And one person, he tells him to visualize the audience in their underwear. And the guy stands up and he goes to the edge of the stage and he looks around and he finds a girl that he thinks is attractive, or a man sitting next to her. I'm not really sure. And Young Bull starts like unbuttoning his pants, and they had to grab him and stop him. And they kind of acted calm about it, like this happens a lot. But in my head, I never understood. I was like, what is he about to do? Like, her clothes are still on. I couldn't actually imagine someone imagining someone to the point that they could sexually.
Wow.
Like, so I guess my question is, could you masturbate to somebody on a stage?
Morally, no.
Well, but this is a thing that we talked about in the past couple days, because I told him that I saw a meme, right? And it said, like, when your phone is dead, so you have to, like, use your mind to masturbate. and I saw it on the Aphantasia subreddit. They reposted it and they said like F in the chat. They like F in the chat for people with Aphantasia. And it made me think like cuz ever since being young, you always hear about like, oh, he's got Playboy magazines under his bed, or like about guys who can get off to like just a totally innocent picture of a girl by like imagining her naked. And that was something that I could never like comprehend, and now I feel like I get why I could never comprehend that.
Mm-hmm.
What do Aphantasia people do if they wanted to do that? Like, do they have to be like run through a list like over and over again? Like,
she's a strong reader. She's a real sweetheart.
Wow, you're
back and forth.
Wholesome.
Dude, that's so we can't picture anything. So it's just like,
wow.
You brought up a very interesting point that like, a disability is kind of based on what our society is focused on and values. And I feel like in Japan, where Buddhism is very heavy, a lot of the exercises that they do through meditation is visualizing stuff and like repeating mantras and, thinking about other people and their suffering. But it also is to a point to get to a state of mind where you're not thinking about anything.
I'm already there, baby.
So there's two types of like meditation, really.
Nothing
there's
in
one
here.
This bitch empty all the
visually,
time.
and like, yeah, I guess because you've done meditation before, so tell us like what it's like for you to not be able to visualize anything and just sit there.
Okay. Well,
'Cause I feel like that's the point
Yeah.
that you want to get to when you're
but
meditating.
I'm
But
not
I could
able
never-
to. Okay.
Your thoughts are
Like
still.
Chris and I have gone on this Buddhist retreat
No
a couple
way.
times. Yeah.
You have to.
And like
That's
you meditate with the Buddhist
Monks.
monks and the nuns, and like the one that you do every day is that you get up at like 5 a.m. and you go to the meditation hall and you just sit and meditate in dead silence, like 40 people in the room just in dead silence for an hour. And like I have never struggled more with like anything in my life. Like silent meditation does absolutely nothing for me because I don't know, I guess I have like a really hyperactive mind, but my mind is always going like a mile a minute thinking, and it's if there's like nothing and it's just silent, it's very hard for me to to actually meditate and be like, okay, focus on the breath, like empty your mind of thoughts. Like there's no chance of it happening. So personally, I can only meditate with like a guided meditation, like listening to music or a recording that's like, I am breathing in, I'm breathing out, like blah, blah, blah.
So I guess the answer to my question is that people with aphantasia still struggle with meditation, because I would just think that because I have too many mental images while I'm meditating.
Yeah, but just because I'm not seeing anything doesn't mean I'm not thinking.
Yeah, and that's what I don't
I
grasp.
think everyone-
That's so funny.
I think everyone's capable of that, though. I think it's possible to truly be.
Just 'cause you guys are a bunch of kids. That's how I imagine your shit.
Bunch
Like
of
you guys are
kids.
a bunch of fucking children. You guys are like, oh, there's a cookie monster. Oh, there it goes.
Immature,
Yeah, right.
visualizing ass.
Fucking yeah, right. I got real.
Whoa, there's my
man
friends and
thoughts,
stars and whoa,
There's red stars everywhere.
So
my
crazy.
friends are riding stars. Whoa, it's like Kirby Air Ride in here.
Shit, I
You
think we're
finished
done
that
here.
thought. I've been done here for an hour.
Yeah, I
We
think it's
started
been
an hour
past
ago.
an hour. Yeah.
Do we have enough content to satisfy your YouTube monetization?
Dude, they've been hounding him for some fucking content, so probably not. They always want more.
They're gone.
He's like, dude, I gotta pay my rent. Like, oh, come do a podcast.
Come pod with me.
Next week, entropy, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, dude.
I
Entropy is
Google it.
really interesting. We
I
should
know
all do
nothing
that.
about it. Seems like above
It's
my
like the
pay
most
grade to
fucked up
understand
thing.
it.
We should talk about human consciousness and what you believe it is.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Sure.
That shit
Yeah.
is.
But
trying.
like, if we're gonna talk about that, we should like
Get fried.
all
Yes.
yeah,
I'll probably end
Bad
up
idea.
crying though.
that idea.
like immediately.
Yeah, last time I smoked.
No,
too much
I was
weed,
gonna
just
say
cried.
we should.
You smoked what?
I'm gonna bring my weed guy. He's just gonna be in the background, like. This
What's
is dope.
more?
Thanks for bringing me.
With us here,
Needs-
we
needs
have
to get the house
Marty,
more.
Sam, Dylan.
Marty's like, I'm
Hello.
high already on 24/7. I see visually, so
I have never tasted alcohol. I have never
No,
smoked. No, I'm not kidding. I've never smoked anything in my life, ever. The hardest thing I've ever done is an ibuprofen.
I thought you were saying you do drugs.
No,
he just.
I just
says-
understand them a lot. I understand them. I understand how they work.
What?
Yeah.
It's like when I found out Tyler the Creator has never done any drugs.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Tyler the Creator doesn't do drugs.
The hardest
He
thing
might
I've
have
ever,
started. Now he hangs out with A$AP Rocky, but I
the
don't know.
hardest thing I've ever done
He's
is I've
been
had a cup of
influenced by
coffee.
the-
That's it. It's the craziest thing
Was
I've ever done in
what?
my body. Cup of coffee. That's it. It's the craziest thing I've ever
You need to
done.
stop. Coffee's bad.
How often do you drink coffee? Why is coffee bad?
Every day.
I like coffee.
Have a cup.
I like
It's
coffee.
addictive. It's a drug.
It's super addictive, but I got to. And it's totally.
Do
addictive.
you not drink alcohol?
Coffee is. I'm not getting into this.
I love how everyone who like drinks alcohol has some health tip for you. Like
Yeah,
like,
right.
it'll be like,
I know.
don't eat meat. Like it's garbage, and like Shorty will be drunk. Like she'll be
Yeah.
so fucked up. She'll be like, do coke, but don't eat meat.
One more thing before we go. Do you feel like, I don't know if it's happened to you yet, but would you be mad if someone told you that you could fix your aphantasia?
Only if they framed
Cup of
it
coffee a day.
in a premise of
Oh,
like,
oh no, like it's.
oh, you're just not trying hard enough or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
But if someone said like, oh no, there's a way for you to be able to visualize something, I've researched it, I would totally be interested. I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, like tell me.
I
what
think
you
people
see.
with Aphantasia are just stupid. And I'm smarter than
Hot
everyone.
take, and I'm here
But
for
Hot
it.
take.
One of us was in the 97th percentile, and one of us was in the 98th.
Oh, wow. That's because I didn't cheat.
Let's get out of here. How do I do this outro? Just say bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Please
I love
subscribe
you.
if you made it this far. Thank you.
Thanks, Dad. I wanna thank my
Comment down
dad.
below.
Click on the page.
What else you would want
Click
to
on the
hear.
bio if you want to see
Smash
our
that
fans only.
motherfucking compassion for your fellow human beings.
If you need an alarm, call Classic Alarm.
That was good. What is that?
You never heard the Jen Marbles
I
voice?
have no clue who Mrs. Marbles
All right.
is.
Well, we're gonna go teach Dylan some things. Get out of here.
What are we teaching Dylan?
Sounds like
Jenna
you guys are gonna
Marbles.
hurt me.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like sexual things.
It sounded like that,
Yeah.
right?
Oh God.
We're gonna turn the
No.
camera off. We got.
We're all gonna go have some fun.
Dylan
Ah,
a
now
few
I'm
things.
visualizing it. Ah, ew.
Sucks for you.
All
All right. See ya.
Follow our premium snap.
Send me that. Email me that.